Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Storytime. Today, we are continuing our journey through Max Lucado's Tell Me the Secrets, Treasures for Eternity. If you remember last week, we learned about forgiveness, the secret of forgiveness. Do you remember Shannon, how she went to visit Grandpa Josh, and she was so very upset? A friend at school, one that she had helped with math, and was a friend to, was mean to her, started teasing her in front of all the other girls because of her parents were divorced. Shannon was sad and angry and broken. Do you remember what Grandpa Josh taught her? She told her the story of the water master, and Jessica learned the truth of forgiveness, that she had to forgive her friend. She learned that because Jesus forgave her, that she needed to forgive as well. And she was taught Colossians 3:13. Bear with one another, and if one has a complaint against another, forgive each other. As the Lord has forgiven you, so you must also forgive. And that was the secret of forgiveness. We must forgive like God has forgiven us. This week, we get to have a new story. This week, the story is on the secret of peace. Let's begin. We set our eyes not on what we see, but on what we cannot see. What we see will last only a short time, but what we cannot see will last forever. 2 Corinthians 4:18. Josh watched Eric get up from the table, walk across the room, and stand by the kitchen window. I don't understand it, Grandpa Josh. All I did was stand up for my beliefs. Rain streaked the pane. Josh stirred his coffee. Eric stared out the window. Both were silent. Eric wondering why the kids laughed at him. Josh wondering what he should say. I'm not the only Christian in science class, Eric broke the silence. Why didn't anyone else speak up? Tell me again what the teacher said. Eric looked at Josh and let out a sigh. He said, I should know better than to believe in God. And the students laughed. Yeah, they laughed. They laugh at anything he says. You've got to understand, this teacher is a class act. He's young, he's sharp, the girls think he's handsome. We're not talking old fogey here. We're talking about the most popular teacher in school. Did any student speak up? Not for God. I guess they didn't want to look foolish. Eric turned again and looked out the window. I guess they didn't want to look like me. What bothers me most is not the silence of the kids, but the silence of God. What do you mean? Josh asked. Why didn't he do something? Why did he let everyone laugh at me? Why didn't he zap the teacher or shake the room? How do you know he didn't? Because I was there. When the teacher asked who believed in God, I raised my hand. He said I was foolish and everybody laughed. He lectured for 10 minutes on how faith was old-fashioned. I didn't see God do anything. Not one thing. Josh stroked his long mustache and smiled. You know, Eric, you aren't the first one to ask that question. What do you mean? Go to a hospital. Walk up and down the halls, and you'll find people asking the same thing. Why doesn't God do something? Go where people are hungry. They'll ask it too. If God is alive, why doesn't he help? You're not the first one to question the presence of God. Josh stood up and motioned. Follow me. I want to show you something. The two stepped into the study where Josh kept his treasure chest from Africa. Josh led Eric to a table in the corner. Have I shown you my pets? He asked, pointing to a glass cage. Inside the cage, 4 little mice huddled in a corner. When did you get these? Melva bought them last week at the pet store. She loves animals. Here, meet Ezra. Josh reached into the cage and lifted out the smallest of the mice. He was snow white with a nose that never stopped wiggling. He was born here, right in this room. Eric was puzzled. What does a mouse have to do with looking stupid in science class? Ezra has something to teach you about peace, Eric. Josh explained as he put the rodent in Eric's hands. What? The mouse knows how you feel. Eric turned Ezra around and looked at his small whiskered face. I don't get it. Well, Ezra has questions too. Eric rolled his eyes. Right. Like what? Like the other day, he complained about the monsters on the wall. Come on, Eric chuckled. No, really. See the framed photograph? That's you and Melva. Ezra doesn't think so. He's convinced that it's a window with two monsters staring in, waiting for a chance to eat him. Josh, you're crazy. Eric was starting to laugh. Josh's eyes twinkled. And that's just the beginning. See the walking stick in the corner? Yeah. Ezra thinks it's a snake. You're kidding. It doesn't look anything like a snake. Ezra doesn't know that. You know what else he complains about? What? He complains that I leave him alone in the room too much. He thinks if he can't see me, then I'm not alive. If he had his way, I'd be here in this room 24 hours a day. Wait a second. You're telling me that you have a mouse who thinks the picture is a monster, that stick is a snake, and that if he can't see you, then you don't exist? That's right. That's insane. No, that's life through the eyes of a mouse. And you know, Eric, I can understand his confusion. You see, Ezra has no knowledge of life beyond this room. His entire world is right here. The ceiling is the sky, the walls are the edge of the earth. All he knows is this room. Eric leaned forward on the couch and stroked the back of the mouse. He was starting to get the point. Ezra doesn't understand that the real world is bigger than what he can see, he said slowly. That's right. He misinterprets what he can see and doesn't understand what he cannot see. Kind of like me. Kind of like all of us. We all forget that God's world is much bigger than ours. From God's point of view, this earth is just one room in a huge house. We can only see a portion of what exists. Eric nodded his head, and since our vision is limited, we think pictures are monsters. We think sticks are snakes, and we think if we don't see the owner of the house, he isn't here. That's right. Let me show you something. Josh went to the shelf and took down the Book of Secrets, opened it, and handed it to Eric. Read the verse on this page. Eric read the words slowly. We set our eyes not on what we see, but on what we cannot see. What we will see will last only a short time, but what we cannot see will last forever. 2 Corinthians 4:18. What does it mean to set your eyes on what you cannot see? Eric asked. Good question. I learned what this meant in jail. Eric widened his eyes. You did? I was working near a small village in the jungle. We dug water wells for the people. We became their friends and told them about God. They were interested, but the chief was angry. He had me thrown into a hut and locked the door. What happened? Well, while I was locked up, I asked the same questions you asked. I hadn't done anything wrong. I began to wonder where God was. And as the days passed, I became anxious. Then I remembered the verse in the Bible. We set our eyes not on what we see, but on what we cannot see. So I decided to do it. I decided to see with my heart and not my eyes. They could lock up my body, but they couldn't lock up my heart. I spent hours sitting on the dirt floor of that hut talking to God and soaring with him like an eagle through the sky. I was a prisoner, but my spirit was free. Eric was fascinated. How long were you locked up? 30 days. I later learned that they were just testing me to see if I was serious about my faith. Have they become Christians? Not yet, but they may. At least they saw one person who was willing to stand up for his belief. Do you think my teacher was just testing me? Could be. Could be he isn't, though. Your teacher may mock you every day now from now on. Your friends may laugh at you. But when they do, see the unseen. God is near. He is proud of you, Eric. He loves those who are loyal to him. And just because he doesn't make the ceiling fall or the ground shake, that doesn't mean he isn't right by your side. Eric was quiet for a minute. Then he smiled. I guess Ezra and I have a lot in common. What do you mean? We both just need to trust. We both need to see more than we can see. And we both have you to remind us there is more to this world than what we can see. Peace. Over the years, I have often heard people say things such as, I am happy in the Lord. They probably mean that at a particular time, everything is well in their lives. The family is healthy, the job is okay, they got the new car, and they have a few dollars to spend. But what happens if God allows one of those things to change? I've often wondered how Peter and Paul sang in prison. Beats me. I once heard that peace is not the absence of storms in our lives. Peace is what you get in the storm. Too many times I haven't allowed God to give me his peace in the storm because I was too busy trying to convince him to get me out of there. Post haste. Sound familiar? Wouldn't it be wonderful to experience the peace that passes all understanding before the storm, so that after the storm we can say without feeling embarrassed, I knew you would take care of me. That would be worth its weight in gold. Isaiah 26:3. You keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you, because he trusts in you. John 14:27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid. John 16:33. I have said these things to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Philippians 4:6-7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. And 2 Thessalonians 3:16. Now may the Lord of peace himself give you peace at all times, in every way. The Lord be with you all. 2 Thessalonians 3:16. We have our picture of peace. Peace, knowing that God is with us, that he will never leave us nor forsake us. Peace of keeping our mind fixed on him. Here's the portrait he painted of peace. Even behind bars, if you see the bars of a jail cell, even though he's in there, his heart and mind are free because he has the peace of God focusing on what is not seen. And you see the eagle there soaring like the man who was in prison, like Grandpa Josh. He was free because Jesus is with him and he knew truth and he was making his Father in heaven very proud. This week, the secret of peace. Next week, we get to learn the secret of victory. Until next time, boys and girls, may you have a wonderful week. God bless you.